My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Jesus, this time of prayer, we don't want it just to be an ordinary time of prayer. We want this time of prayer to be family time, because that's really what the situation, the atmosphere, the feeling that you create in today's gospel. Because there you are in the little house packed in there with tons of people, and when Mary, your mother, and some of your relatives come and try to talk with you, they try to get your attention, and then the people around you let you know, like, hey, Jesus, your mother and your brothers are outside trying to see you. And you say, who are my mother and my brothers? And you look around at everyone in the room and you say, here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother. Well, Jesus, you've created family time. We're entering into this gospel scene with you, but we want to do it with the same spirit, the same outlook, the same desire that you have for this time of prayer. So it's family time. Well, just like many of us have lived at some point in our families, all stuffed into the same sofa to watch a family movie together, or me and a bunch of my brothers and sisters all bundled together in a hammock on the front porch, or maybe you see a whole bunch of the little kids stuffed on sitting around Dad to read a book together. 3 on his lap, 2 on either side, 1 sitting on his shoulder, and everyone trying to read the book all at the same time. That's what the room's like. We want to jump in there, find our place at the window, squished into a little corner, sitting on top of the kitchen table, but stuffed into that room with you, listening to you and talking to you during this family time. Now, obviously, the most important line of this gospel is, whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother. But Jesus, I think there's another thing in this gospel which is worth taking a look at. When people tell you that your mother and your brethren are outside, the gospel starts that way. It says, his mother and his brothers, or brethren, plural, generic, both for men and women. His mother and his brethren came. That's how it starts. And then they tell you, your mother and your brethren are outside asking for you. Mother and brethren. Once again, plural, generic, men and women. And then you ask, who are my mother and my brethren? Once again, the generic plural, brethren. And then the gospel continues on like this. And looking around on those who sat about him, you, Jesus, looking around at those who sat about you. Now, you weren't just looking at a panoramic vision of, glancing past everyone all at the same time. And you weren't just looking at our foreheads. No, you probably let that question sink in. Who are my mother and my brethren? And you looked around and you look at the woman to my right and you look her in the eyes. And the guy sitting behind me and you look him in the eyes. And then you bring your sight down and you're looking at me, Jesus. You know, when we started this time of prayer, we said, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I think that falls short. You don't just see me, you're looking at me. You don't just hear me, you're listening to me. You're speaking to me. You love me. St. Luke even adds the detail when he tells this same story in his own gospel, that Jesus extends his arm out toward everyone around him. So you're not just looking at me, you're also pointing at me. You single each one of us out to be part of your family. In fact, when you ask, who are my mother and my brethren, there's that generic plural, and you say, here are my mother and my brethren. Once again, that generic plural. But then there's a change. Whoever does the will of God is my brother, singular, masculine. And my sister, singular, feminine. And my mother. No one of us is generic in your family, Lord. Each one of us, you've looked us in the eye, you've pointed us out, and you've invited us to be part of your family with a very simple condition. Do the will of God. And gosh, Lord, once we're in your family, I mean, what do families do together? It's just relaxed, casual. When you're with family, you can just hang out in your pajamas. You can eat leftovers together, leftover pizza, leftover macaroni and cheese, leftover, you could tease each other. Families also listen to each other. We've all had that experience of having a good long conversation with mom or dad or both. Maybe a good cry too about some frustration or personal problem. Well, with you, we can do the same thing now. Jesus, if we're part of your family, I can hang out with you in my PJs. We can eat leftovers together. Metaphorically speaking, obviously. And you'll listen to me, and I'll listen to you, and and if need be, we can each have a good cry. Telling you what's weighing heavy on my heart. But you too tell me what's weighing heavy on your heart. Families, we also pray together, huh? And you gave us a family prayer, Jesus. Because it starts out this way. Our Father. Not my Father. Not your Father. Not Father in heaven. Not Jesus' Father. Our Father. Yours and mine, Jesus. Family prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. And here we go again. Thy will be done. In that family prayer, once again, thy will be done. Whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother. Now we can also think that this is probably not the first time that Mary and Jesus' relatives have come and met Jesus at a crowded event. We can think of the wedding feast at Cana. There were a bunch of people there. And if Mary and Jesus were there, was certainly a bunch of his relatives were there too. And what does Mary remind us to do at that wedding? To do her son's will. To do the will of God. Do whatever he tells you. Do the will of God. become God's brother and sister and mother. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.